Greetings, folks. Welcome to Own a Podcast One Shot, where we couldn't fit something to podcast the storm. So we're here. With me is the petty dabbler of the dark arts, the authenticator, aka Dalton L. Mortimer.
Yes, hello everyone and good evening. Corrupt should be here shortly.
Or as I call him in this one, the Devourer of Cringe.
Yeah. But so anyway, we had an article that we were going to cover that has since been deleted by the people that originally published it, but was archived by the I guess you'd call them the conglomerate Kiwi Farms. So here we are with that.
Right, I forgot my introduction. And I'm your host slash madman with a computer, the brainstormer of pop culture.
Hmm.
Right. So, yeah. Basically everything Tom just said, because I was busy texting Corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say texting, but DMing, I guess. Bless you.
Thank you.
I actually had, when Dalton had sent me this, I made sure to read through it just on the fact that, well, title alone, it was very much interesting.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm just seeing how much stupid there is today. Right, okay, so title Pupil reported to police as fascist for playing historical war game. So Pupil is a I'm assuming is damn it, YouTube.
It's a fancy British term for like student.
Okay. So all my kind of stereotyping of British people being uppity, snot-nosed bastards are kind of correct.
Well, yeah. Well, the upper class of the British is like that. Yes.
Okay. Well, actually, that's really any upper class, to be honest.
Yeah. If you're the um democratic modern equivalent of a aristocrat, you still act like an aristocrat.
Not to say everyone who's like a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, is an
No,
asshole.
but by all means, you can maintain your down to earthness and your self awareness and things like that. But
I mean,
if you
there is something called a philanthropist. So.
Yeah, but if you were born into what the social justice warriors would call privilege, to the point that you never were able to or never incentivized to develop self-awareness or self-examination, then you are likely doomed to be a foppish twit.
And my simplest of terms to kind of simplify what Dalton says: if you're a Richie Rich, go fuck yourself. No wait, I guess that reference doesn't work because Richie Rich was actually a cool dude.
Well, but okay, but that being said, I do believe that even if you are one of those people, you can develop self-awareness and self-examination. So my approach would be to insist that people do that.
Right.
And regardless of class, people should do that because self-awareness and self-knowledge is the beginning of all true knowledge, in my opinion.
Basically, just don't be dickheads.
Yes, that too.
Fortunately, no one listens to that part these days.
Yeah, everyone's awful. Everyone is drowning in misanthropy. Everyone is
Oh,
awful.
I get it. I get it. I haven't seen the second movie.
I thought it was good, and it's kind of a shame that it bombed as much as it did. But
I remember a lot of people saying it was about like that there's some social justice warrior stuff in it. Though I think it's more of the whole thing with like it being a younger sister and an older brother deal with like
Mhm.
relationship with the toys and stuff. It made sense.
Yep.
I mean, anyone who's had a little sister, I mean, come on, you can kind of a sister in general, you can vouch that you aren't going to have a lot of things in common growing up.
Yep.
All right. A British pupil was reported to an anti-terror wing of the police by his school for daring to play a historical war game with his father in which fascists were a playable faction. Dalton?
So essentially, Britain, you called someone a terrorist and reported them to the police as a terrorist for playing what essentially amounts to a tabletop game in the style of D&D. Fuck yourselves within every conceivable orifice of every hole in the goddamn multiverse. Please.
I was kind of expecting a face palm, like a really hard face palm.
Yes, but I actually need my face to remain intact. So, like, if I was to face palm as hard as that deserved, I I would cave in my face.
Good point. Oh, this is actually a really short article. Huh. I mean, that's
Well,
really.
presumably because it's written by someone who doesn't enjoy listening to themselves talk quite as much as the average Mary Sue writer.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Ugh, boy. Okay. The father and son duo upload unboxing and gameplay videos to their YouTube channel in Imperator Ves. Damn it. Imperator Ves. Pet.
They're being smartasses with Latin if you're curious why it's so impronounceable.
Alright, I kind of figured that. Honestly, I thought it was a Warhammer 40K reference.
It might also be that, but I don't know.
That game is just bleak as hell from everything I've read about it.
It is. It is an awesome game, though.
I'm not gonna deny that. It's just I don't think it's the kind of game for me.
This is true. I don't really play it very often either. It's not quite my style of game.
It just seems like it's so it's super edgy, dark.
Yeah, the whole corporate teenage nihilism thing is what I think it rose out of.
Right. Okay. After not posting anything for a period of 6 months, they revealed the reason for their absence in the video entitled "Unexpected Side Effects of Gaming." Huh. Okay.
Well, good for them for having a sense of humor and also praise Cat.
I would say check out their YouTube channel, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really recommend it entirely yet.
After the article, since it's so short, we should find our way over there and see what kind of content they make.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The pair had been building and expanding their models for the counter-historical game A Very British Civil War, set in an alternate 1938 where Oswald Mosley, the leader of the British Union of Fascists, had become prime minister after Edward the Eighth refused to abdicate, plunging the country into civil war. Huh.
This sounds like a really interesting game.
It does.
Unfortunately, it also transgresses the moral authority of the powers that be. So haram, I guess.
Fuck's sake. Stay out of the fucking cool shit. Stop trying to poison it. You're not gonna. And even if you do, there's gonna be an entire wave of people that are gonna
Yeah,
rise up against you.
your morality does not give you the authority to control art and culture. Sorry. Art requires value, and you people don't believe in value, so fuck off, please.
I'm just gonna ask, like, Don, do you have knowledge of? Because I'm assuming there was a union of fascists in Britain at that time.
Um, I know that there was, and I know who they were referring to when they said Oswald Mosley, but I don't know as much about this particular history. I do know that it's likely what they're referring to are the fascist and anti-fascist protest groups uh that dotted around Europe around that time.
Yeah.
Um that led to the rise of people like the Nazis via being civil unrest dickheads.
Hmm. Hopefully they didn't win, because we're all still here.
Yes, and as a gay disabled person with a religious minority status, I probably wouldn't be here right now if any of those people did
I'm
didn't.
actually not sure if I would be here though, because I'm like, I'm Mexican. I mean, I'm in the quote unquote dominating religion,
Hmm.
but again, I'm not. I don't have blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin, so
Yeah, so we would probably both be fucked, or we would be sitting here having this conversation in the middle of a concentration camp. Who knows?
I would honestly don't. If I can be honest with you about that, I feel like I
Hmm.
would be the one in the concentration camp.
Hmm.
You unfortunately would not be there to have this conversation with me.
Well, maybe not at this point, but I do kind of like I like the kind of imagery of an alternate timeline where like we met in a concentration camp instead of online.
Yeah,
That would be a very dark but interesting way to do like a dark comedy or drama.
someone called Taika Waititi.
Yeah, actually I kind of want a self-insert story now where like we like mount an escape from a concentration camp or something.
I feel like for me, I would put in a lot of visual gags.
Hmm. I think I'd go the political satire route.
Why not both?
True. We would have to write this together if we ever wrote this. But we should so though. It would be a really interesting especially if we like made it a parody of like social justice stuff. Like instead of like stereotypical Nazis, it's a bunch of social justice believing fucks.
I feel like if I actually lived in that world, I would have offed myself at some point just because I couldn't bear the stupid anymore.
Well, maybe that's how our alternate timeline would start. Like I would convince you to not off yourself when I met you, and then we would proceed to plot our escape from the social justice concentration camp.
Even though this article is okay, I would say the topic of it is, it's like how we are with um, other articles. Is
The fact that you can be reported to Britain's counterterrorism unit for playing a tabletop game
Well, no, I think it's better explained down below further. So,
Hmm.
okay. Various factions are playable, such as the BUF themselves, communists under the banner of the Labour Party, loyalists to the crown backed by the U.S. and Canada, and so on. Oh yeah, being backed by Canada, that's so great. You have some major,
Womp. Womp, I say. Womp.
yeah, major firepower there.
A.
U.S. I get, sure, but okay, I might be a little biased there, but come on, Canada's a joke.
Yes. So much so that even South Park was just like, nope, we're going to make fun of Canada. Blame Canada. Shame on Canada. So,
The only thing I agree with,
until your fault, it's Canada's fault.
only thing I agree with them, only things I like about Canada is one, maple syrup,
Delicious.
and two, the nationwide legalization of weed. Even though I technically will probably never do that, just the fact that we know weed isn't as bad as other certain drugs. So
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for a lot of people who are Canadians. For example, the majority of the honey badgers are
right,
Canadian.
it's I
But
would say it's more the people in power that we have problems with.
yeah, fuck you with a hockey stick, Justin Trudeau.
And it's actually funny. I tried to do hockey once. I still got the hockey stick.
Hmm.
Granted, I think I got the stuff just because I wanted to try and be Casey Jones at one point in my life.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I had like this whole kick-ass thing I wanted to try.
Hmm.
Yeah, they are not, folks. There are some people that actually are willing to try and be real-life superheroes. There was like this whole movement back in 2010.
I think it's still going on because the
Yeah,
majority of
I mean like that, but I think it's where it's like got its reach of popularity. I mean,
right. That's when the surge happened. And in fairness, I'm entirely in support of those people for the most part.
yeah, they're
Obviously, obviously, I don't know any of them in particular, so I can't judge them for like their individual merits. But as general principle, the world does need more superheroes.
yeah, they're actually. I like myself. I have like Dalton. I haven't met any of them myself, but I'm like. There's a whole documentary of them that I watched and is really good. Actually, some are like former criminals who kind of went on like just decided to not only just better themselves, but to be a betterment to the community that they were
Mhm.
part of by stopping other criminals.
And I, of course, being me, am curious if any of those superheroes are like occult detectives, and if not, then maybe I will have to fill that void.
There's actually a guy who dresses up kind of like Death, but gives life towards homeless people.
Sweetness.
Yeah, I think he calls himself Thanatos.
As in the Greek god of death. Well played, sir. Clap, clap.
He actually lives in Canada, if I remember correctly.
That's extremely funny to me.
All right.
What I guess what we're saying, folks, is reality is stranger than fiction, and I am all for it.
Mhm. There's actually a guy I think works in Washington D.C. called DC's Guardian.
Well, well, we certainly need a few more of those. So, Godspeed, sir.
Yeah.
If you happen to see this, and you ever need like an occult expert, let me know.
Yeah. Out of any superheroes I had seen, I think he has the best costume.
Well, I mean, yeah, he went with the whole Grim Reaper thing, and he had the wherewithal to make a Greek mythology reference. So he gets
Dude,
all of
I
the
was talking.
points from me.
Oh, I was talking about,
Oh, the DC Guardian dude.
yeah,
What's his costume like?
Captain America, kinda.
And I'm not surprised. I am happy though, because somebody's got to do it, and Steve Rogers is late, so by all means.
Found him. I am going to show that just before we move back. Because, there we go. Okay. There he is.
Yeah, that's well done.
It's very much a superhero costume. Others look more tactical and stuff.
Yeah.
This one looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Very much superhero, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
But yeah, wow, we really went on topic there.
We did, but it was an interesting divert, and the article is short, so.
All right. The son mentioned to his classmates that he was buying a flag for the BUF models. He was quickly denounced as a fascist himself for daring to engage in such a hobby, and was reported by the school to the anti-terror wing of the police. Okay, for one thing, I have to admire that he is dedicated enough to the game, like the hobby, that he's actually willing to buy a flag to use. But
yeah, all hail geekery, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah,
When you're into your thing to that degree, then all the more power to you. But fuck's sake, Britain.
isn't the fucking school did it? Not one of the kids, but the school. Are you serious?
Yeah. A school in the United Kingdom decided that a kid playing a game, probably making fun of fascists more than anything, was so dangerous that he needed to be reported as a terrorist.
I mean, okay. If we're going to talk about the history of board games, this isn't so dissimilar from the religious fundamentalist with D&D. And that's, I think we've said it a few times, is that obviously the SCWs are just the new fundamentalists.
Yes. You can't play that game because fascism is no different from you can't play that game because Satanism. People should be free to be edgy. Even people who are genuine Nazis, as long as they are only advocating for Nazism rather than, taking actions into their own hands in regards to it.
Yeah, and mostly the guys who do act on that shit are total bitches and pussies.
Yes, and they can be argued against. This is the thing that ultimately gets under my skin the most. In order to believe that Nazis are so dangerous that you can't actually let them believe the things they believe and advocate for them, you have to believe that either your position as a non-Nazi is so weak that you can't fight them, or that the average person is so malleable that they'll latch on to any idea they're given, and they'll never be able to counter argue it. Well, I'm sorry, Britain, but counter arguments do exist. And what's more, and this is the other thing, SJWs assume that because humor has a positive charge, essentially, when you mock something, you give that thing a positive charge, and if that thing is a negative thing, then you'll turn that thing into a positive thing by
Oh,
by
shit.
mocking it so much. But in actuality, mocking something is a way to take legitimacy away from it. So if you want to make something actually non-threatening, make it a laughingstock. That's how that works.
Yep. And oh my dear fucking god, we have some. I think we have something to cover after this little quick article.
Okay.
It is something we could do for next week's podcast, but I kind of want to cover it now.
Well,
Because,
I mean, if the inspiration struck you, then why not?
dude, it is so stupid, and I think you're gonna. Well, I use enjoy with quotation marks.
Yeah, but okay. Proceed.
Right. The son was interviewed under caution along with his father, despite pro- protestation. Protest.
Protestations. It means like insistences.
So protest.
Yeah.
What? Whatever. It's a. I've never seen that word, so it kind of is weird.
I have, and I've used it before, so it's not like I can't really judge them for talking like that when I do sometimes stuff like that.
I'm not trying to judge them either. I'm just saying like it's a word I've never seen before, so it's hard for me to like say it. I guess. Okay. Fortunately, the police could not believe what the school had done and took action against the school for wasting their time. Go police.
Well done, lads. If more of you do things like that when farcical shit like this happens, we will actually be living in a world where it's worth living in. If you don't, then we'll be living in 1984 before too long.
But seriously, the fucking school reported the kid.
Yep. You're playing a game that might potentially offer a positive view of the people we've defined as evil. So you
Okay, I know we give American. I know we give American education system a lot of shit because, well, truthfully, it does deserve it.
yes.
But in my time, in my experience, that hasn't happened.
Yep.
There has been some shit, but it's mostly been like typical teenage bullshit, like
Yeah.
with like just fights and. There's one time where a kid had threatened to shoot up the school,
Mm-hmm.
but still, though, come on.
Yeah.
What is it with being overly sensitive, trigger warning jackasses that makes people such utter bitches?
because because they're so insecure in their own beliefs and their own positions. They don't believe in objective reality, therefore they can't appeal to objective reality to fight things. So to them, everything is a social construct, which means that if you give an idea enough power, it will become the norm regardless of its actual merits. You have to remember these people have convinced themselves that merit is just a arbitrary illusion and therefore doesn't matter. And if merit doesn't matter, then what defines ideas is the authority of those ideas.
It's basically the whole. It's honestly, I kind of want to give the whole Morty speech to Summer in Rick and Morty.
Yeah, nothing matters, nobody belongs anywhere. Go watch TV.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sad thing. Like it's a sad speech, obviously.
Yeah, and it is not a position that I hold, for the record. I in fact hold almost the exact opposite position, which is to say everything matters, everyone belongs everywhere. Come watch TV. My conclusion is the same, but the way I get there is very, very different.
Right. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to draw a comparison that I feel like for them that's what they think. Kind of.
Well, kind of. I think their version would be something analogous to nothing matters, nobody belongs anywhere, so let's do everything the way I want them done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that works better. That works better. It's just, um, yeah, my point of it being is honestly their whole ideology and stuff is just, and I think I've said this a few times, is that it is so fundamentally flawed and wrong that it honestly makes no sense and has no real hold over anything.
Yeah. Only in order to believe the things they believe, you have to start from the position that nothing matters. And this is why I'm so obsessed with things like value and meaning, and more importantly, finding rational systems of value and meaning. Because if you already concede the well, nothing matters position, this is where it ultimately ends up. If you actually follow through on your beliefs. If you start from the position of since nothing matters and everything is subjective, then dot dot dot. Well, far be it from me to be a stick in the mud and everything, but why the fuck did we just concede that position? Why the fuck are we validating that bullshit starting premise? Why aren't we just going, no, you fell at the first hurdle. Why we're not continuing this conversation because you already started from a position that's demonstrably wrong. But everybody loves to be edgy and nihilistic, so that's a thing that people consider, I guess. And what's more, and this is the thing that really pisses me off, is when you offer the opposite position of things actually do matter, people will look at you like you're being naive. And I'm sorry, but fuck you. It's not naive to think that X has to equal X, that things have to matter for the universe to make logical sense. It is, however, naive to think that since nothing matters, you can just make anything you want happen. Sorry.
No, I was saying it's needed. In my simple words, fuck nihilism.
Yes. Fuck nihilism and absurdism and postmodernism and all of the philosophies that feed into each other. Because that's the thing.
I
There
would
are
argue cynicism is needed, but not like to an overt amount, but like a balance between optimism and cynicism.
yeah, okay. See that's exactly the thing. Because there are two kinds of people that that tend toward this kind of thinking. There are the nihilist set, the set that says nothing matters, so we can make it whatever we want it to be. And then there's the traditionalists who say the only thing in the world that matters is the things we've decided have mattered. So never do anything that's not normal, otherwise you're ruining everything. And
Whatever happened to compromise, you know?
personally, I would disagree with both of you. Your norms are inefficient and stupid, and I will call them out for being inefficient and stupid as and when they are. But also, not every norm is inefficient and stupid, and some norms have merit and exist for reasons. Like I operate the middle position of fuck norms, fuck authority. It doesn't matter what the authority of a concept is. It matters, does that concept actually make logical sense or not?
Right.
That that's my position. My position is fuck your systems. Logic matters more.
I guess for me, my kind of way of thinking is in the state of cynicism is that yes, the world is shit, people are jackasses, and truly, what what little good there is in the world is starting to die out very very slowly in this rotting corpse of society. But it is up to those that see that to make to help make it better for those that come after us.
Yeah. If you think the world is dying, then it should be your position. You shouldn't just give in to everything and go, the world is dying and shitty, so let's just cling to whatever arbitrary standards we like. That shouldn't be your position. Your position should be, the world is dying, let's try to keep it from dying just a little bit longer.
Yeah. There's something Neil deGrasse Tyson said once. I can't remember what he said, but I don't know even why I brought it up if I can't remember what he said. It would have worked though. It would have worked for this.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, back to this. The incident still affected the family, causing the mother to become ill and both father and son to lose all interest in the hobby that allowed them to bond. They sold most of their collection as a result.
Okay, now this has genuinely pissed me off. This is the problem, you stupid moralizing fucking cunts. Your position that nothing matters and that everything needs to be catered to moral authority ruins what in the world actually matters. It ruins art. It ruins freedom of expression. It ruins people's ability to be creative. Look at this example. These people used this war game to bond. This father and son. It made them close, and it made them happy, and it made them, it made their lives worth living. And because of your stupid moralistic bullshit, they now have less things in the world that they consider worth fighting for. They now have less reasons to lead functional, happy lives. It's the fucking Rich Johnston thing all over again. Because of people like you, there are now less objectively valuable things in the world. There are less beautiful, wonderful things in the world. And they wonder why I call myself the authentic. Because fucking people like this can look objective values square in the face and ignore it so much that it dies. And what do they think of themselves for this? They don't judge themselves harshly for this. They don't even consider they've done anything wrong. They think they're in the moral right for causing shit like this to happen. Not only are you making the world an objectively less valuable place, but you're doing so because you think you're the better person. Fuck every conceivable fractal of your being, sirs and madams and others. Just fuck entirely. To the abyss that you wish to create. Because you may want to live in a nebulous, swirling cavalcade of abysses. The rest of us want to live in a world that's actually worth fighting for, if you jolly well please. Fuck. I'm sorry. It brought back the Rich Johnston Sandman related rage because this is exactly the shit that led to the death of Vertigo Comics. And now we live in a world that's less meaningful because people had to get a moral ideology in their head.
Yep. What a time to be alive. While not being specifically named in the video, it is likely they were reported under the PREVENT scheme, designed to spot potential terrorists in the early stages of radicalism. It is most often employed by schools, universities, and other government organizations. I'm sorry, that's an actual fucking thing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And once again, you do not have the capacity or authority to police what people believe in the privacy of their own thoughts. Nor should you have the capacity to police people's actions unless those actions do demonstrable harm to other people or themselves. Fuck you. You do not get to claim someone is a fascist because they take part in a game where they mock fascists. And ironically indeed, do you know what you will get if you give the government and the powers that be that much power? You will get fascists. That is exactly who you will get if you allow this kind of moralism to continue. Because all it takes is someone else having a different moral system than you and gaining power. And then they will use the infrastructure that you have created to make a totalitarian state. And whoops-a-daisy, we will have fallen into fascism all again. You are the evil you are trying to prevent. And you are being so for the sake of stopping people's enjoyment of games and art and creative pastime. You cannot imagine how much, as a critic and an artist and a person who is considered with the philosophy of value, I want to tell you to fuck off. Oh, so fucking much. You cannot imagine how much fuck you there is in my system at this particular moment.
Extremism is defined for the purpose of the scheme as vocal or active opposition to fundamental British values including democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, and mutual respect and tolerance of different faiths and beliefs.
Again, it's not the advocacy of fascism that is the problem. People should be allowed to express terrible views. I don't agree with fascists, but I do agree with the ability of fascists to say fascist things. The point where I go, okay, that is far and well and good enough, is when that leads to actions. I will begin to argue against those beliefs as and when those beliefs actually have demonstrable consequences. But someone can be a Nazi in the privacy of their own head and even vocally advocate for other people to become Nazis. Why do I believe this? Because I believe the idea of non-Nazism is superior to the idea of Nazism. It's not just a question of who does or doesn't have more authority. It's a question of which side is logical. And I believe non-Nazism is more logical than Nazism. And I also believe that people are not sheep. People have the ability to be rational actors. So if you see someone listening to a Nazi and you truly want to prevent Nazism, offer the counter position to Nazism. What you don't do is you don't censor the Nazi, because by censoring the Nazi, you have created a system where the Nazi is then the victim of the powers that be. And one of the things regarding human psychology is when we notice something is unfair, we tend to empathize more and sympathize more with the person the unfairness was committed upon. I.e., if you censor a Nazi and make the Nazi a victim, you are going to legitimize Nazis more because people will be inclined to empathize with that position. And they might even think to themselves, why would someone censor this person if they didn't have a legitimate thing to say? The correct solution is let the Nazi speak however he wants to, and when the Nazi says things that he honestly believes that are objectionable, either let the stupidity fall where it may, i.e., let people make up their own minds, or if that fails, offer a counter position. That's the only way to prevent Nazism. The only way to prevent a terrible idea is to broadcast that terrible idea to as wide an audience as possible and then provide the counter arguments for that terrible idea. Because it's not the person that you're fighting, it is the idea. And if it is at any point the person, then you have failed to be a just human being. Because it's not the person that you need to worry about, it is the idea and what that idea leads to.
Also included in the definition are calls for the death of members of armed forces with British in, I believe, brackets.
At what point in this game did that happen? Is my follow-up question
Well,
to
it's not
that.
really. It's not even about the game. It's about like.
No, I know it's about the statute or whatever they violated. But what I'm saying is, if that's what the law says, and that's when you should report things, at what point in playing this game did anyone advocate for the actual deaths of Allied soldiers? Now, the hypothetical Allied soldiers that they were fighting in the game, I can understand, but fighting a enemy in a story is not tantamount to fighting real life equivalent of that enemy.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that's just added information
Yeah,
to give context to the prevent scheme.
probably.
They are now back playing again, including the very campaign that got them in trouble in the first place, as it annoys all the right people. However, they advise any younger viewers who may be interested in picking up their hobby to avoid telling anyone at school, pointing out that some of the teachers these days are so far to the left that they've lost the ability to understand. Some
Okay, on this point, I have a slight disagreement. I don't think it's a left right issue. I think it's a moral authoritarianism issue. People who think their morality is so sacrosanct that it needs to be used to shape all of society and culture. That's the issue, because whether it's the satanic panic of the 80s and 90s or it's the social justice panic of today, it's still morality needs to be the the end all and be all of what decides culture's validity. And that's the problem. Whether it's people censoring things for the sake of God or people censoring things for the sake of diversity, it's still not okay. The justifications you offer for censoring a thing do not justify censoring a thing. Period. No matter left, right, center, or somewhere indifferent. When you censor freedom of expression, you are in the wrong, full stop. Unless you can actually make an argument for why yours is the exception. And that doesn't include just asserting that yours is different for reasons. It means demonstrating that yours is demonstrably different somehow.
I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, but I am glad that the father and son duo are playing the game again. Because if not, that would annoy me.
Um, some of the teachers do not live on Earth. They think that toy soldiers are real life. Many commenters on the channel were astounded that they were even reported to begin with. A user under the name National Watch Video Watcher complained that when chavs throw rocks on my house, all of a sudden the police can't do anything. But the minute you build a miniature, in come the bloody MI5.
Yeah, I totally agree with this sentiment. The idea that actual crimes go overlooked because social and verbal and thought crimes happen is just stupid. The the idea that you can't accuse a person of murder just because they happen to be a Muslim, but you can report a father-son duo for playing a war game in a school to the counterterrorism department is absolute upside down, back to front, welcome to Wonderland bullshit.
Yep. Um, Cox Jewell, a school governor, said he was disgusted to hear of this referral over wargaming and urged the pair to pursue action against the school. Late Start 1 summed up the situation well, asking how could we be living in a world so crazy as to trust unhinged, politically motivated simpletons with the education of our young people.
Yeah, that's a fair point, I think.
Yeah, and no, that's the end.
Alrighty. And you said you had another one to do?
Yeah. Well, I was scrolling through Twitter earlier while you were going through one of your rants, and it like someone had screen capped it, and so I went to the website. And it's a Screen Rant article.
Boy.
I don't. I don't. I mean, like, I don't think you're gonna be as mad about it as. I'm not even mad about it myself. I thought it was just something interesting to cover.
Yeah.
Marvel just announced the MCU's perfect Spider-Man replacement.
Okay. Interesting title. Go for it, I guess.
Okay. Marvel Studios has already announced the perfect Spider-Man replacement, Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel.
That is an absurd premise, but I am willing to let you defend it. So go for it.
I was gonna bring up that Spider-Man has bigger name recognition, but
that doesn't necessarily mean that a obscure character can't get, like, if a character's good and it's just a factor of no one's ever heard of them. If you present them well to the point that people want to know more about them, it becomes a non-factor.
right.
Like if Kamala Khan was actually a better character than Spider-Man and they were advocating this, I would totally agree. The problem, of course, is that she does not really appear to be that, at least not in any of the ways that I've seen her written.
Well, for one thing, does she even have a character?
Yes, she's kind of a fangirl and a geek.
Okay, well, is that well executed or displayed?
I mean, it depends on the writer. I've seen it handled well, and I've seen it handled extremely poorly. But I don't have a lot of faith in her as a character for the most part.
Yeah. Shame though, because I think, in all honesty, I think it could work. Like I say all the time, it's these ideas can work. It's just the people who are working on these ideas are fucking idiots and have no idea what they're actually doing.
Or they have an ideological predisposition against the very concept of writing a good story because merit bad.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
That wasn't too dumb, obviously. I'm just saying, like,
No. To people who sincerely advocate for that position, yeah.
Yeah. But to say that she's a perfect Spider-Man replacement, I mean, no.
Yeah, on the face of it, that is an extraordinarily faulty premise, I think. But like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this assertion will be followed by a spectacular argument and reasons that I haven't thought of yet. Well, I always want to err on that side of the thing, because what do I always say? It's not the assertion that is valid or invalid. It's the argument that.
Well, it's just I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just that 9 times out of 10 with our track record, it just
I'm not holding my breath or anything. I'm just saying, for the sake of living up to my principles and living up to my logic, I have to allow you to present the actual argument.
Right, right.
And if you make a terrible argument, then I am going to essentially say I told you so. But
Right. So yeah, like we always do, we're gonna read this whole thing through, give our thoughts and opinions on everything. If the writer Thomas Bacon,
Mr. Bacon, all right,
is related to Kevin Bacon.
I'm just imagining like an anthropomorphic piece of bacon now, like
Now I
from
want bacon.
from like Sausage Party or some other like food commercial from the 1950s.
What's Sausage Party?
Oh, you would really enjoy that movie, I think.
Is it that like super simplistic like Illumination animation by Seth Rogen?
Yes, but I don't think it was by Illumination. And
The animation style and like how simplistic and like cheap it looked.
I thought it was okay, especially because it was made for like a tenth of what most movies are usually made for.
I saw the trailers for it. I wasn't interested in
it. It's a lot smarter than it looks. Because basically, they make it an allegory for religion. Because what happens in the Sausage Party universe, if you want to call it that, a couple of generations before our main characters, the non-perishable foods, i.e., the foods that don't expire and therefore are technically immortal by food standards, the non-perishable foods decided to create a story that the humans that take food from the market are taking the food to a heaven-like place called the Great Beyond. Cut to a few generations later, a religion has sprung up around this idea of the Great Beyond, where the humans are worshipped as gods. Now, naturally, humans actually don't take care of the food that they purchase at the market. They consume it and so on and so forth. So, in a way, it's a perils of religious thinking story or an atheism story that they turn it into. Because our lead hot dog named Frank, because of course, finds out what actually goes on in the Great Beyond and tries to warn people.
Right.
Or food.
All I remember hearing is that apparently there's a giant food orgy at the end of the movie.
Only for like 5 seconds. It's really not. It's neither particularly long nor particularly graphic. It's just kind of a joke scene.
Okay.
The villain of the movie is a literal douche.
Okay.
Yeah, as in the thing that women use to clean their private regions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to this. Spider-Man has been described as Marvel's Mickey Mouse, the most recognizable and distinctive superhero brand. I wouldn't say he's a brand.
Also, I think you could say roughly the same about the X-Men or the Fantastic Four or the Hulk as well.
Yeah.
And I've never ever heard Spider-Man compared to Mickey Mouse ever.
Yeah. That's why Marvel Studios went to such effort to reach an unprecedented deal that brought the wall crawler into the MCU, and it's why the recent collapse of the Marvel-Sony deal is such a blow to their shared cinematic universe. Well, that and the fact that they set up something at the end of Far From Home that
will never get paid off now.
Yeah. but I'm not sure. Like, I feel like they got the better part of the deal, like the previous deal they had, Marvel Studios.
Well, to be fair, Sony completely didn't understand what to do with the character. So I think Sony got the better part of the deal just because if they hadn't done that, the rights would have reverted back to Marvel eventually anyway.
Right.
Because part of the deal is Sony has to try and make a Spider-Man related thing every, I want to say, 10 years.
You know how Sony can make a good Spider-Man movie again?
By just doing a bunch of sequels to Into the Spider-Verse, because Into the Spider-Verse was awesome.
Well, that and also let the directors do what they need to do to make a Spider-Man movie good. Like
Yeah.
make their version of Spider-Man and some. I just just stop interfering with movies. Stop trying to suck the soul out of a fucking movie.
Yeah,
That's what
stop
comes.
meddling, studios. Stop meddling, and you'll be fine.
They won't though.
Oh, of course not.
When Stan Lee and Steve Ditko created Spider-Man, they envisioned him as the ultimate everyman hero. Um, in a superhero universe filled with hyper-intelligent geniuses, strange visitors from other worlds, military-trained super soldiers, and scientists with breathtaking anger management issues. I understood that reference.
And of course, sorcerers and mystic scholars, but never mind. I have to throw that in there because magical aspects of superhero universes often get overlooked, and also because I'm me.
Well,
And
I'm
if I
gonna be
didn't,
honest.
my
I
brain
feel
would
like
explode.
I'm sorry, don't. But what I was saying was like I feel like they do get overlooked on the fact that they aren't given much prevalence.
Yeah, they're very underappreciated. That's why I'm so psychotically insistent that Marvel Studios get Doctor Strange right, because the democratizing nature of film can give characters that didn't get their dues before their dues. And so far you haven't, Marvel, because you don't appear to know how to write the character. Although he was much, much better in Infinity War than he ever was in his own movie.
Hmm. Spider-Man is essentially an ordinary person who's gained superpowers. That can be said about a lot of Marvel superheroes.
Yeah, Iron Man was just a billionaire. Um, Steve Rogers was a essentially weakling who was offered a chance to serve his country. Um, Stephen Strange was a arrogant asshole surgeon who lost everything and had to redeem himself spiritually to thrive, etc., etc., etc. We could we could literally be doing this all day.
I would talk about the Hulk, but I don't feel like we need to.
Mm.
Uh, According to Lee himself, the idea for Spider-Man came from a surge in teen demand for comic books. Really?
Yes.
Hmm. Right. Well, I just thought there was more to that, like something else.
Well, he wanted to give teenagers a character to relate to. Although to be fair, Fawcett Comics Captain Marvel beat you to the punch by a good 20 years there, Dan.
You know what's funny? We were talking about a bridge series like before the
The stream.
yeah, the stream. There is a whole channel that makes a whole universe of DC animated bridge series. Well, technically they're movies, but they split them up because of, I'm assuming, copyright problems. But they have Shazam actually Captain Marvel, and
Yeah.
I mean they even did a joke where Captain Marvel gets threatened to be made into Miss Marvel by Wonder Woman cutting off his you know.
Well, I mean, his entire body has superhuman strength, so there's a significant likelihood that if you tried to cut it off, you'd blunt the scissors.
Yeah. Also, I think he wanna. I'll tell you about it later on. But it's honestly, I would recommend go check out that series. It's DC Abridged Universe on YouTube. Like that's the channel.
Hmm.
It's good stuff. They actually did a Crisis on Two Earths too.
Ooh,
I think they're kind of incorporating the Button storyline into the whole Universe Bridge series stuff.
sweetness.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting and cool.
I will be curious if they ever bring in any of the endless or any of the magical heroes aside from like Shazam.
Yeah, but they turned like a lot of the New 52 animated movies, which we kind of say are suck, a good portion of them.
Yeah, they've been much more average than their predecessors.
Yeah, but they actually make them pretty fucking good.
Well, have they gotten to Justice League Dark yet?
No, no, I don't think they have yet.
Okay, well then I will be waiting with bated breath until they do.
I will be curious and see how they handle John Constantine. I'm wondering if they're gonna play up the British factor or not.
Honestly, person people who are in charge of DC animated abridged universe, see if you can get Matt Ryan to do it because Matt Ryan loves playing Constantine, and I'm sure he would love to play up John's assholish nature. So that is an option.
You know what? I'm gonna suggest this, and you're gonna hate me for it, Dalton. I know it,
Proceed.
but if you, they really do a lot of different things for these characters, and if you're gonna ever do John Constantine, please, please, please have the voice actor try and do a Keanu Reeves John Constantine impression.
I'm going to murder you, Brainstormer. I am going to decapitate you and skullfuck your remaining head.
Okay, tone down the graphic.
Never acknowledge Keanu Reeves ever in relation to Constantine. Please.
I'm trying to think of what would you call what would you call it? Like a mixture of Keanu and Constantine.
I refer to his iteration of the character Constantine because he's just so very much not Constantine.
No, I'm trying to think. Keanu Steen. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be the troll here. We don't have Corrupt on, so
We don't even have Eric to playfully troll us, so yeah, somebody has to, I guess.
yeah. But where were we? Uh, right. Okay. Um, yeah. And he was envisioned as a character teens can identify with. The MCU has followed the same approach. That's why Tom Holland's Spider-Man grew up in a world of Avengers and has been given such a close relationship with Tony Stark.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
I would I would disagree, but I'm not going to go into that. Just not now.
Well, I mean, if you want to, go ahead. I mean, it's not like I don't repeat the same ramble a lot. So if you want to, go for it.
He, I'm just going to say like he doesn't feel like Spider-Man. And again, like I've said this so many times, is that he lacks responsibility. There's no weight to any actions or choices he makes. It just all gets brushed to the side.
I'm going to play a bit of a devil's advocate position. Please don't hit me. Um, I think it's possible that the point of his trilogy is the acquisition of that responsibility. That he's supposed to learn to take that responsibility in his trilogy, or he would have. Sadly, though, we'll never know because Sony and Marvel got in a dick measuring contest.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't technically disagree with you, Don. I just feel like they really didn't care about the core of the character at all.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the defining aspects of the character is stuff they couldn't use because
They don't. Okay, that's not. I don't know. I feel like I'm not going to disagree with you there. I just feel like they didn't put as much effort as they could have.
I'll give you that. They really didn't. But
not the actors or well, maybe the director. Crew did fine. I'm more talking about like the writers.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck those.
Well, the people in charge of working him into the world building, I think, bear most of the responsibility there.
Yeah. I will admit, when you get like Spider-Man and you have to introduce him into this world, I would admit it does seem a little hard.
Mm-hmm.
I won't deny that.
Yeah.
While I do like his introduction in Civil War, I do feel like it was kind of shoehorned in, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alright, where was I? Marvel understood that their modern teenage viewers had grown up on a diet of MCU movies, and they see 2008's Iron Man as the beginning of their own superhero journey. Their Spider-Man reflects this. Huh.
I think you might be reading a little bit too much into that there, Mr. Bacon, but it's an interesting theory that I've not considered before, so well played.
Neither have I, though. Honestly, I think it's kind of stupid to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's reaching, but it's still an interesting theory. Even though I think you might be filling in gaps where there is no filling there, but
yeah. Like, honestly, I would say it does have some weight to it as a theory, but I do think he is reaching as well. Like,
yeah, I think if someone actually did do that intentionally, it would be better. Like if that was the actual purpose of it. But as it stands, I think it might be apophenia on his part.
okay. The loss of Spider-Man means that the MCU no longer has an everyman hero who represents the teen audience. That's not really the
one-to-one representation really isn't the point of things like that. You're following into the identity politics route again.
Yeah. Okay, so Spider-Man was meant to represent basically the average Joe.
Yeah, I might even be a little bit more specific and say the average nerd.
Yeah. Well, asshole nerd, because let's be honest, Peter Parker is kind of an asshole.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have what you'd call common sense, so there's that. But
yeah. But the thing is like he wears a full body costume, covers every part of him, and so every kid, every person who would read a Spider-Man story could envision themselves as Spider-Man.
And to be fair, it was that kind of broad storytelling that actually makes me not able to relate to the character, because in my opinion he doesn't have any of the qualities that I aspire to in myself or that I relate to. So that's a fail on Marvel, if anything. But yeah. Oh, fuck you, dog.
Well, I mean, it does have to coincide with the Spider-Verse thing, with like anyone can wear the mask.
Yep.
But that's fine. I'm not gonna judge you on that, man. You like Doctor Strange, and I don't know a lot about Doctor Strange and stuff. So
did I actually remember to give you recommendations of stuff of his to read? Because I don't remember if I did.
You've sent me a few videos of motion comics to watch, and I have.
Yeah, I remember I sent you the motion comic of Into Shambhala. If I remember correctly, that was the
You
one that I
did.
sent you. And that is a favorite standalone graphic novel of his that I like. But
So yeah, it's just again like the whole 1-to-1 ratio thing is kind of reaching. Let's say,
yeah,
kind of stupid.
yeah. And I think and like I said, or what the point I was trying to make is having trying to make that 1-to-1 ratio work, I think limits the character. And it's one of the reasons why I don't like him as much. Because
Well, okay, that's the. I'm
here's the thing. Most average people, I think, and I might be generalizing a bit here, but I think most normal average people aspire to be anything other than normal and average. Because normal is fucking boring. Why would you want to be normal when you can be extraordinary?
well to quote Braun from Game of Thrones. I've had an exciting life. I want a boring death. I know this context-wise it doesn't really make sense, but
Yeah, it doesn't really work in the I get what you're saying, but do you know what I'm saying? Like people look to inspirational characters to not see their flaws reflected back at them, but to in fact see something to aspire to. It's one of the reasons why I like Doctor Strange or Doctor Fate better than I do um, Constantine, because as much as I relate to Constantine, and I do, because we're both fucking screw ups sometimes, um, I actually hope to outgrow my stupid moments. I don't want to see a character who empathize, emphasizes my stupid moments. I want to see a character who is above them so that I can aspire to be like that character. And of course, that's why the way Doctor Strange has been being written for the last 20 years or so is really fucking stupid, but that's a whole nother rant for a whole nother day.
right.
Competence is as inspirational in a way that relatability never will be. For me, at least.
I think I'm the complete opposite. Kinda.
It's a complex thing, and we might have to find some room for this on an episode of Soliloquy at some point. But
Yeah. Alright, so fortunately, Marvel recently announced that they have a replacement, Kamala Khan, who was getting her own Miss Marvel series on Disney Plus. Okay. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has been teasing Kamala's MCU debut for over a year now, stressing that the MCU's Miss Marvel would be comic book accurate. So a wildly inconsistent character.
yeah, the problem with making a character like Kamala Khan comic book accurate is she's not written consistently because the people who write her don't particularly have this thing we call confidence.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there is the kernel of a good character somewhere in Kamala Khan, and if the MCU leans into that rather than making it a 1-to-1 translation of it, because this is the thing I always said about Captain Marvel. I wanted them to take more from the '80s version of Carol Danvers rather than the modern version of Carol Danvers. Unfortunately, the MCU decided for the Kelly Sue DeConnick run as opposed to any of the Miss Marvel runs, and that was a massive mistake. But if they take Kamala Khan and they humanize her in the same way they kind of fixed the Civil War storyline, then this could work. If they don't, if they just do what the comics did, then we're in for pain, basically. Just pain, lots of pain.
Again, I am kind of done with the MCU after Far From Home. I know you're not, Dalton, because there's
I am trapped giving a shit because they're actually addressing parts of the universe that I care about now.
Oh, Godspeed, bud.
I really hope this isn't going to be several years of just unrelenting pain for me. But I'm also preparing myself for the possibility.
Right.
That being said, I want the MCU to succeed at portraying the things that I care about. Because I want my Celestials, I want my Cosmic Entities, I want my pseudo Lovecraftian surreal psychedelic shit. I want all the weird, great, high concept stuff that the street ignoring for all that time. That's what I want. And now, actually, without Spider-Man in it, the MCU has less of a excuse to focus on street level stuff.
But before we move on, never mind.
Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. I mean, if you have something else to say, it's
No. It was just that. Like, I'm honestly kind of. I'm not exactly thrilled that Spider-Man is out of the MCU because it's stupid, but I do like that now that there is no Spider-Man in the MCU, they have less of a reason to focus on the small scale street level stuff and more reason to focus on the upscale cosmic stuff. Because Spider-Man, if they had kept Spider-Man in the MCU, they would have had more of a reason to tie them. They would have had more of a thing tying them to Earth. But now that Spider-Man is gone, and he was the only major street level character left, they can go weird and cosmic without needing that anchor. Which could either be a very, very good thing or a very, very bad thing, depending on how it's handled. Hoping for the good. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna plug my channel with like the 2 rewrites I had done for 2 Spider-Man movies.
Yes, Brainstormer did a brainstorm on Spider-Man, and his version is better than the movie version, so go look at that. Yay.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're better. It's just.
Well, I would. You've told me what's in them, so I am fully confident in saying that.
And sometime soon, because I'm still writing out like the characters and stuff, is that I will be pitching a third in the trilogy of the MCU Spider-Man movies. Probably next month, like I did with Far From Home and Homecoming.
Yay.
I am very inconsistent with my upload schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Those plans are finally coming to fruition, with Kamala set for Disney Plus. Miss Marvel would then migrate to the movies, where she could actually fill the Spider-Man shaped hole in the MCU.
How, though? You haven't actually explained how you get from point A to point B there.
Okay. It's easy to forget that Miss Marvel was designed after the pattern of Spider-Man. I don't know about that.
Well, I'm willing to concede that, but that still doesn't mean that she's the right character to fill the spider hole.
Well, I mean, I don't really think she is an everyman character.
Yeah, no, because her identity is very kind of important to her. The fact that she's a Muslim character.
Yeah.
And there are 3 billion Muslims on the planet, but
Well, okay, but my question is, does that really actually like is that ever like relevant to her? character at all?
When she's written badly, no, but there have been a few good stories where they touch on it.
Her creators, Marvel editors Sana Amanat and Stefan Wacker. I've heard of Sana Amanat, but I've never heard of Stefan Wacker.
I've never heard of Stefan Wacker either. I think he's just the artist, but
Well,
Sana Amanat is worth a groan because
artist Adrian Alfona and Jackie McKelvey. Jamie McKelvey and writer G. Willow Wilson. Envisioned her as another everyman hero, designed to represent the complexity of modern multicultural society. So, society, then.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem, of course, is that those people have quite expertly failed at portraying her as an every person because they made her identity so central to her that she couldn't be an every person.
Where Peter Parker was originally a Jewish kid. I don't really think they've ever touched on his
background. No, not really. To the best of my knowledge, no. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm not a Spider-Man expert, so I might be wrong. But they.
Well, it's just he's never really.
I've never seen Spider-Man celebrating Hanukkah, for example.
Christmas, sure. I mean, everyone does, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I never really thought. Honestly, in some way, I thought Peter Parker would be kind of atheist. Kind of, not really though. It's just. I mean, granted, Marvel Universe does have gods.
Yeah, the Marvel Universe has a similar problem to the DC Universe when it comes to atheists. Like, when literal gods are walking about the place on a regular basis, and one of Peter's best friends is a sorcerer, then atheism becomes kind of an untenable concept.
Yeah.
I mean, you could still potentially do it, but you would have to be a fucking moron to be an atheist in the DC universe or the Marvel universe.
Well, it could be that he just doesn't believe that the gods actually give a shit about like normal people.
Yeah, but that's a different thing. That's apotheism. As an apathy.
Yeah, I get it.
Believing the gods don't care, or alternatively, apotheism also means someone who doesn't care about the gods.
No, that's interesting.
Who believes they exist but doesn't really give a fuck.
Okay. I feel like they're reaching because the creators of Spider-Man were Jewish.
Yeah, I think they might be projecting identity where identity was never a factor.
They created Kamala Khan as a young Muslim, and the majority of her stories subtly explore themes of social justice in the context of fundamentalist faith.
They actually very seldom ever actually touch on the whole fundamentalist Muslim thing.
Actually, that would be an interesting story to explore.
Yeah.
Not the social justice part, but like how do you be a hero when you've been raised on fundamentalism?
Well, she and her family aren't fundamentalists. They escaped from terrorists, but they never really portray the terrorists as being terrorists, because you can't say anything negative about Muslims in particular because that's Islamophobic.
Motherfucker, every religion has some bad apples and dumbasses to it.
Yeah.
Okay? We're not attacking anyone. It's just a common knowledge that there will be assholes that try to use religion as a power.
Yeah, and also, if you do terrible things under the guise of believing stupid shit, then someone probably is going to come along and point out that you're believing stupid shit.
I mean,
Sorry.
no, it's just, damn it, I had something. Shit. But no, again, there is good ideas for Kamala Khan. It's just, I think,
They
initially,
never actually use them.
yeah, good ideas, poor execution. It's always going to be, that should be my tagline, like my catchphrase.
Yeah.
Right. G. Willow Wilson followed the Spider-Man pattern when she wrote the popular Miss Marvel comic book.
Calling it popular is wrong to the point of being farcical. It's constantly canceled and rebooted.
Mm-hmm. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko carefully built a strong sense of place around Peter Parker, so that the readers felt they got to know New York itself by reading the Wallcrawler's adventures. Okay? And
Okay, fair point, but you might be reaching again a little bit. I think they said it in New York because they could themselves relate to New York. I don't think they consciously put any effort into portraying New York. They just did it accurately.
yeah. In the same way, Wilson ensured that her Miss Marvel run gave Kamala a sense of what she called particularly, truly making her feel as though she existed in a real place. What?
Yeah, you never touched on that, my darling. There's a few issues where she's in Pakistan, I'll grant you, but it's never really a factor. It could just as easily be Saudi Arabia or any of the other Muslim countries, or predominantly Muslim countries, because of course not countries don't have
Right.
dominant religions. Wait,
You know, You know what the funniest thing is about about Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel,
Hmm.
is that she's not even the first Islamic superhero of Marvel.
No, she is not.
I believe it was Dust. To
Yeah.
huh?
Yes, Dusk was a Muslim character. You are
Yeah,
correct.
from X-Men.
Mhm.
Uh,
And of course, even if we don't acknowledge Islam, there's still Middle Eastern characters aplenty throughout the history of both major comic companies.
yeah. Actually, there are a lot of characters in a lot of different mediums that are from the Middle East.
Yes.
I can't name off the top of my head, but I know there are many.
There's the one kid from Johnny Quest, whose name I can't remember. The kid in the turban who was a magic user, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either. Damn. Oh, Street Fighter. Rashido, something like that. God damn it! It's on tip of my tongue. I know it, but I can't.
Curse you names.
Yeah. But I'm sure you guys get our points.
Yeah.
And the fact that they made this big deal that she was the first Islamic superhero of Marvel, which is total lie, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Wilson showed the same dedication with Kamala's supporting cast, working hard to flesh them out so Kamala felt as though she was interacting with real people.
Again, not really, no. Everything's very surface level and often skipped over.
Yeah. I mean, okay, again, Dalton, I am sure, out of the two of us, Dalton has the one that's read it. I have seen many reviews of it, and frankly, I was never really impressed with it, just on art and premise alone.
Yeah, I've skimmed it, but of course, my knowledge of non-mystical characters tends to be very passing because I focus on
Okay.
my particular area.
It's hard to reproduce this effect on the big screen, which may well be why Marvel Studios has chosen to introduce their version of Miss Marvel on Disney Plus. They get to take their time building her world and strengthening her supporting cast before moving her into the movies. See, that's a good idea, and I hope they don't make it actual comic book accurate.
Yeah, because in this case, the comics were shit and should be changed to be better.
Yeah, like Miles Morales in Spider-Verse.
Mhm.
Um, like the MCU's Peter Parker, Kamala Khan is even a superhero fan. Although in Kamala's case, her idol is Captain Marvel, not Tony Stark.
Yeah, she's bad at picking idols.
Hmm. Like I said, I did a rewrite of that character once, just to see if I could make her somewhat better.
Hmm.
For one thing, she wasn't an inhuman that enlarged her body,
Mm.
but she was a mutant who had the ability to shape her appendages to different forms.
Mm.
Um, the thing is that the side effect was that the longer she stayed, that her appendage or body stayed in that form, the more damage that would happen to internally.
Mm. Well played, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, she was part of like a D team of X Men
Mm.
or C team. I'm not really sure, but she on a mission with the team of X Men. She comes across Captain Marvel, and they kind of build up a relationship where Captain Marvel does start to kind of mentor her and stuff, and kind of a sidekick for a little bit.
Hmm.
And where well, Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel at the time, and when Marvel dies, she takes on the mantle of Captain Marvel to honor him.
Mm.
And Kamala wants to take on the mantle of her mentor to uh, the keep the not the symbol but the name of Miss Marvel alive.
Hmm. Which brings up the question of, is Brie Larson going to appear in Ms. Marvel, or are they just going to allude to her?
Probably allude to her.
I honestly kind of would prefer if she actually showed up, if for no other reason than the inevitable she belongs on TV, she's more of a TV actor joke.
Hmm,
But that might be me being a bit of a dick.
why not both?
This is true.
Yeah. I mean, I had something else that tied her with Captain America as well, with like her family. I think I told you this before. Dawn.
Yeah, he saved them from like terrorists or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just you can make these characters work. You just got to be willing to put in the effort.
Yep.
Like it took me like an hour and a half to really flesh out the my version of Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel.
Well, you're very good with characters, so it doesn't surprise me it happened that quickly.
It was a pain in the ass to write.
Well, but think about the awful nature of what you started with. So
Well, the fact that the reason why it was such a pain in the ass because I really had to kind of because I had to make sure it wasn't just like a jumble of ideas. I had to make sure it was coherent enough to where it all made sense when you really look back on it.
hmm
Right. Okay. As popular as Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel may be, all this isn't to say that she's already become the equal of Spider-Man in terms of cultural impact, brand recognition, or even merchandise value. At least you're aware enough to say that. I respect that.
Yeah, yes. Points for self-awareness. Self-awareness for the win.
I wouldn't say she's popular. Uh,
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that she deserves to. And it's not. It, this might result in me taking away some of my points that I just gave you because the way that sentence is structured, it implies that the only thing that's stopping her from being like Spider-Man is some arbitrary cultural influence that Spider-Man. And sorry, but no, my social construct isn't gonna fly round these parts, Mr. Bacon.
yeah. Also, folks, if you actually want me to do like, I guess send me a list or something of the quote unquote SJW Marvel characters. Um, if you want me to like do like a whole podcast episode, like just like a one shot or something of me like completely rewriting them.
I even though I don't consider these characters to be SJW characters, and they're actually written quite well, I would like to see your take on Hulkling and Wiccan, just because I think you could write a really interesting romance story between them.
Believe it or not, I actually am. I actually do like romance. I'm like a hopeless romantic.
Ditto.
Yeah, but yeah, no. I would be very like just. I am curious, folks. Like, what characters do you think I could actually make better with air quotes of those words?
Yeah, I say that he doesn't have the self confidence to say that, but as someone who's seen much of his work, I am confident in saying that he could do better.
I know I want to try and rewrite Silk because I do dig the idea of that character a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like they don't really go anywhere with that character,
Yeah, they don't.
which can be said greatly for a lot of the for a lot of stuff Marvel's done in the last 10 years or so.
Yes. But anyway, shall we proceed?
Right. Okay. Um, she's a remarkable success to be sure, especially for a character who was introduced in the comics back in 2013. What?
She's not really a very remarkable success, considering that she's the pet project of a bunch of SJWs, and any success that she's had has been forcing the um forcing the representation issue with all of the grace of a gun to the head. What I mean is that Kamala has been largely a means to a cultural end rather than a character or story in her right, and therefore her success is not remarkable because it's been the pet project of a bunch of activists.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay. I'm actually more surprised that she. It's been 6 years since she was introduced.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that long. It still feels new.
Um, but she's nowhere near that big. What it does mean, though, is that she can fill the narrative and thematic gap left in the MCU by Spider-Man's departure. The loss of an everyman hero who occupies a very specific, particular part of the world and has a strong supporting cast. Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel, does not have those things, though.
And also I wouldn't call Spider-Man's part of the world very specific because it's really very rarely, if ever, relevant to his character. you're reading identity politics where there is no identity politics to be read.
Yeah.
You're doing it for the sake of making this argument, which is itself not very good.
Marvel has made a wise decision focusing in on her at just the right time.
That remains to be seen. I will not pass judgment preemptively, but I will say I have no high hopes.
Neither do I. A shame though, because again, like interesting stuff you could do with these characters, you just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of that paragraph.
And now I suppose we are done. Considering that this was supposed to be a one-shot anyway, and we did 2. We made pretty good time though, I think.
Sorry, I had to talk with someone off screen.
It's all right.
Right. But yeah,
Not in the favor. The door just be open.
sorry. I mean, I have nothing really else. I mean, do you have anything they would like to add to a topic of discussion, or?
No, just what I said in regards to the whole fascist people thing, and I think it's significantly reaching to try and substitute Spidey for Kamala Khan. The argument that was presented was nowhere near what it needed to be to convince me. And
I wouldn't really say it's an argument either. It's just
yeah, it was just random assertions strung together into what looked like an argument.
yeah. So, folks, I actually think this might be our shortest stream yet.
Possibly, although it is a one shot, so it should be relatively short. Especially considering we did do 2. Although it is impressive considering we did do 2 things, not just 1.
Yeah. So, well, I guess with that, we will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow for actual podcast, The Storm. I believe it is number 26.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah. And I bid you adieu, avitase, aloha, adios, bye-bye, sayonara, peace.
Shalom and cheers.
And we hope you have a good evening and a good Sunday. And we will see you tomorrow.
Cheers, guys.
Peace.